Have you checked out all the new handicappers at Wager Talk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at Wager Talk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to wagertalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Happy Friday, guys, and welcome into Wager Talk TV. I am Andrew McInnis, and you guys are watching Puck Time. It's just Carmine and I today. We're looking forward to a great show. However, we do have just 3 games. Of course, we'll try and find you guys some best bets at the end of the show, some promos, Carmine 6 and 60, and much, much more. Look forward to breaking down this card with you, Carmine. And Carm, look at that last night's slate in the NHL. I mean, some upsets, some competitive games, some blowouts, some totals that I was a little bit frustrated by. But what did you think about last night's slate?
I like last night's slate. I said, Andrew, going in, there was some surprises, but I said going in, I had like 4 best bets. First time this year where I've released 4 plays that were all 4% plays. I really like the card. I had a lot of people on them, and they went 3-1. I had the Canes in regulation against, they were like minus 120, 125 against the Kraken. Vegas in regulation, who were about the same price against the Chicago Blackhawks. And I had the Dallas Stars in Washington. I thought it was a good spot to fade Washington with an improving Dallas team. And Dallas got a couple of quick ones in the third and won. The one loss wasn't actually a side. It was a parlay that was almost even money with the Boston Bruins at home and the New Jersey Devils. And they both lost in that game. They both lost their games. But a 3-1 day overall for my clients. And I was pretty happy about that. So I want to address something, Andrew. I spend, and the guys in our chat know, I'll try and get into the chat if there's 3 guests on. When it's just you and I, it's a little tougher to get into chat. But I will always go back throughout the day because we get some comments on our videos, and I want to make sure I address them. Some people will ask, hey, Carm, do you still like it with this goalie change and what have you? And I want to come back and give them feedback, because sometimes you might not like a play that you mentioned on the show because of a goaltending change or anything else. So I try and get back and answer, because I love our Puck Time community. Well, I got a little bit of a beef, especially if someone questions my integrity. Someone sent an email into a Wager Talk yesterday and says that I'm showing complete bias, and I'm taking a team at home that's very questionable. And then on top of that, I also I'm playing against a team who's very good, even though they have a backup goalie in net. I thought it was one of my client plays he was talking about. It turns out this is a guy who complained that my free play yesterday, the banana in the tailpipe game, was the Rangers against the Leafs, and that I go against the Leafs. Here's my numbers. We put up a quick. I pulled up a quick database over the last 2 years. This is what I've done for my clients. 2021, I released 24 plays on the side, not in totals. And of those 25 plays, of those 25 plays, 24 were on the Leafs, winning 13, losing 11. Only once did I fade the Leafs in 2021-22, and they lost to the Boston Bruins, or they beat the Boston Bruins. This year, I've bet on the Leafs 6 times, gone 5-1. I have yet to bet against the Leafs. So literally 31 games, and I've only bet against the Leafs in the last 2 years. For my clients, one time where I tried to fade the Leafs over the last 2 years with my clients, and I only did it once and lost once. So who knows? I could be a closet Leaf fan who identifies as a Sabres fan in this crazy world that we're in, Andrew. But I thought it was hilarious that some guy says I'm biased. He obviously isn't a Puck Time regular. He knows that I think the Leafs are a very good regular season team, but the minute we hit the playoffs, they absolutely crap the bed They have yet to make it out of the first round since Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, and have not won a Stanley Cup since black and white TV went to color TV. So with that said, Andrew, please tell us what we're doing on today's show.
Yeah, we have just 3 games on today's show to break down. The Blackhawks, Wild, the Blues, and Flames, and the later game with the Islanders in Arizona to take on the Coyotes. And Carm, well, you're a fan of them during the regular season because that's when they're a very good hockey team. And another under, I mean, hats off to you for that win you had yesterday on the Rangers. But I have to mention again as well, I mean, this is a Leafs team that is at the top of the league in unders, which is just so surprising. Definitely been a big change for that team, and it's certainly helped them out. I know they're not off a win yesterday, but still, it's been interesting to see them turn into more of an under team. Lots of great goaltending, and their defensive core has definitely come to play and helped them out quite a bit. I'm happy you had a good night. 3-1 for you. Was not a great night for me. So I'm in bounce back mode here, Carm. That game that you had Carolina in regulation, I would have loved to have had an empty netter in that one to at least get me over 5.5. Did not get that one.
They had chances. They had chances for the empty net. They did have chances. Because I was watching, I clicked it over. I had like 3 different screens going. I had the Rangers game on, which confuses the hell out of me why I had the game on, because I had no money on it. I released it as the play, but I had so many other plays going that I'm like, let me watch my client plays. But I had the Leafs game on because it was the banana in the tailpipe one, and we're gonna make that a feature each week. If I can find a game where I like a team, but the line makes absolutely no sense, we'll make it the banana in the tailpipe, because that's what it essentially is. Am I missing something on this game and then falling for it? It's kind of like the Ariel Epstein does the fishy line for the NFL every Sunday morning, where she'll pick 1 or 2 lines and talks about how it is possibly a fishy line. Andrew, you and I, we've been betting, and even you guys in our chat, sometimes you look at a line, you get a vibe, and you're like, what am I missing on this game? And And sometimes that is the sort of the fishy line, but if everything you see points you to that game, you take that game, because if you don't, and it wins, you live to regret it later, just because you were thrown off by the line. So listen, if Shesterkin does not stand on his head yesterday, the Rangers had to play, the Rangers had to play one of their best games of the season to beat the Leafs. Leafs were all over them in the third period, but Shesterkin played well. The Rangers played well, keeping all the shots to the outside perimeter, and they won the game. So I was, happy that some clients, some of you guys in our chat who might have taken that game cashed on it. That's all that really matters. Is if we can give you some kind of info that you can use, actionable info, and you guys can make some money off of it, that's all it is. You don't have to live and die by free plays on this show. Just use some of the actionable info. This is a free channel. Wager Talk spends a crap load of money, let me tell you, with production crews in Florida and Philadelphia to run these daily live shows. They spend a lot of money. We're the only gambling channel with over 100,000 subscribers, and they do that free with no paywall. So they do it because we love our clients. And on the back end, as you know, we obviously sell picks, and that helps to pay for the money that they spend to do this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And we're happy to do this show. You and I enjoy it. I appreciate all the messages that we get and all the comments and the live and all just the viewership we have here in the community we've tried to build. Despite the 0-2 night yesterday in the NHL for me, I'm still on a 23-10 hockey run. So it has been a pretty good December. We're on a pretty good run, and we're going to try and get into bounce back mode tonight here in the NHL. Like I mentioned, just 3 games to break down and get into. Let's talk about them right now, Carm. Let's get into it with the Blackhawks and the Wild. Our first game we will jump into. I cannot say the Minnesota Wild are short favorites, Carm. They are big favorites here. Minus 425 Chicago, plus 325, plus 1.5 is plus money. That's how you know it's a big favorite. When the plus 1.5 is plus 130, minus 1.5, minus 150 for the Wild. Total at 6 in this one. I always find it interesting And I think people should take a look at this stuff, like with team totals, full game totals, and prices like this. When you see a favorite this big, but the total isn't 6.5, it kind of makes me scratch my head, because that pretty much tells me they're expecting absolutely nothing from the Chicago Blackhawks, right? I mean, if they're minus 425, the books are expecting an absolute blowout in this game. But if they're expecting a blowout, but for this to not even have a 6.5 as a total, they're pretty much telling you that Chicago's going to do nothing in this game. And you take a look recently at, the form for these clubs. We've got Minnesota killing penalties every game. They've only allowed 2 goals in their last 3 games. They're playing well against Detroit, Edmonton, Vancouver. Oh, yeah, then you've got a Chicago team that, they've won 1 game in their last 10. But as you know, Fridays are, to me, in the NHL, very similar to Mondays in the MLB, as they call it travel day. Saturday is always a big day in the NHL where all the big matchups are. It's a jam-packed slate always. I don't even think these teams want to play on these Fridays. We've got this Minnesota team playing well, but something tells me, Carm, they might take Chicago a little bit lightly. And I think that we can see Chicago. They are coming off a game last night. I think they can get some goals. I think they will find the back of the net here against Minnesota. And, of course, I think Minnesota can definitely contribute to the scoring as well. So I'm going to go over 6. I think it's a little bit of a contrarian play here, seeing as the Wild have been doing a pretty good job keeping the puck out of their own end. And this Blackhawks team is struggling. But something tells me we can see Chicago get going again, but I do think that Minnesota ultimately wins this game. But, when you've got a minus 425 favorite and the total is at 6, not 6.5, it seems a little bit fishy to me there. It's almost like they're expecting, like a 4-1 or a dominant victory like that for the Wild. I think if the Blackhawks get me 2 or 3 goals, we get over the total here. What are your thoughts, Carm?
Yeah, I'll tell you to this, Andrew, if Blackhawks get you 2 or 3 goals, you're definitely going over the total here. I wish Ralph Michaels was on the show today, or I could reach out to him quickly, because I remember him posting a stat about teams that are minus 400 or higher and how many times they may have lost over the last few years. He posted a stat about that. Either earlier this year or late last year, because we were seeing a lot of minus 400 teams, and I don't think it happened too often, but there were some that did happen. We saw the Leafs the other night, although they won 7-0, they were minus 550 at some places or whatever. I get it. Listen, Minnesota's playing extremely well. 3 straight wins, and they've only allowed a total of 2 goals in those wins. They're back to playing defense again. This is a team that, if you remember, at the beginning of the season, they had a really rough start. They got lit up by a couple teams allowing 7 and 6 goals. I think 6 goals twice and 7 once. And then they went to a very good spell where they were a dead under team, and I just kept playing them under. And then they've gone through a spell where, they went through 9 straight overs. They seem back to unders again, absolute unders. You're looking at their games, and 3-0 against Vancouver, 2-1 against the Edmonton Oilers, and 4-1 against the Detroit Red Wings. And now you got Chicago coming in on the second of a back-to-back. The Blackhawks are 0-3 this season when playing the second of a back-to-back, and this is also a team that has lost 13 of their last 14 games. They somehow beat the Rangers in that game in New York. 5-2 is their only win in their last 14 games. They're definitely a team that's trying to get that first pick overall. I'm not saying they're tanking. Sometimes you don't need help tanking when you're just not playing very good hockey. But going into Minnesota, I don't see them getting the win. I don't see them shocking them. So I don't like it from that aspect. I think if you're going to take Minnesota, you have to find different ways to take them, and maybe some player props. You can look at the first period. If you think Minnesota's going to win this game, obviously if they get off to a good start with Chicago having played yesterday, then you can take Minnesota minus a half a goal in the first period, and it's practically even money. I think it's minus 105. There are some even money plays out there. That might be the way to go. Even the puck line's kind of high at like minus 150-ish or what have you. You might look at player props, Andrew, like you mentioned. Look at other things. You know what I mean? Like one player I like for Minnesota that I might take a goal scoring prop on is Matthew Boldy. He's like plus 140 to score tonight. If we figure Minnesota are going to get theirs tonight. He's probably going to figure in on some of the scoring. Kaprizov, he's a little too high. You got to lay juice with him. I think he's about minus 130, minus 140 juice. I don't like laying juice with it in a goal scoring prop. I'd rather get the plus money. So I'll take Boldy, which kind of rhymes with Baldy. So that'll be my pick as well, too, in this game. I'll take Minnesota first period on the handicap line and Matthew Boldy to score at plus 140.
Yeah, he's a great young player. And, it's funny, Carm, the way you said that the Blackhawks, they might not be purposely tanking, but they're accidentally tanking with the way they're playing right now. And it's tough to see with this Blackhawks team because really, I mean, this Blackhawks team, when I was younger, Carm, they were the team that was dominant, I remember seeing them go head to head with so many of the elite teams, in their conference and going to the cup finals. And now the page has kind of turned. Like they're looking to build from the younger core. So it's interesting, guys like Taze and Kane, they're skating around, looking around saying, where are all my teammates? Where are all the guys I used to have? And they don't have those same guys anymore that they used to have. That's for sure. They used to be a load. They've all retired, Carm. All of their players that they played with are gone. They're done.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? We'll see what happens with this. If the guys with the no trade contracts actually decide at some point that they're good with getting moved. Listen, if Kane gets moved, Taze gets moved, and they play, at some point they'll come back, sign that one-day contract, finish their career in Chicago, where you can get this the sticks tapped and go off. They'll be legends for that team for a long time and not forgotten. It's up to them whether they actually want to get moved to a team that is playoff bound. It's completely up to them. The thing is, like I said, Chicago played last night. Listen, the trip from Chicago to Minnesota is a very short one, but you have to figure these guys finished the game last night, even leaving. Finishing that game, leaving, getting to whether they're traveling on game day or whether they traveled there overnight and you don't get to bed till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You have to always worry about how sharp they're going to be in the first period, and that's one of the reasons why I like the first period play. I didn't look into it. I don't know if I have to figure that they probably travel, this morning heading to Minnesota. I'm not even sure how short that trip is. I'd have to figure it's less than an hour. Maybe somebody in our chat knows, but it's a short trip nonetheless. Whether they did it last night or did it this morning, it's still travel either on game day or the night before and not getting much rest before you got to face a team like Minnesota who's playing extremely well.
Carm, I actually read somewhere that a lot of the times, as funny as this might sound, the teams will actually talk with the captains, like the captain, assistant captains before the season start, and they'll ask them what their preference is. If you talk to, I've had plenty of friends that have played junior hockey and different levels of hockey where some players would rather, after a game, if they're playing on a back-to-back, they would rather get on the bus or get on the plane and travel that night. And some teams, some players would rather stay overnight in the city they're in and then the next morning wake up early and fly to the new city that they're playing in. So it's kind of interesting because each team is different. I've actually learned the way they do that. And the funny thing is the travel coordinator for each NHL team has a meeting with the captains and the assistant captains of the hockey team and says, what do you like better? So I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool that the communication they have with the team and say, hey, it doesn't matter to us. You're the player. What do you think about that? So I thought that was pretty cool. But let's get into the Blues and Flames game here. Looks like the scheduled starters are Thomas Greiss and Jacob Markstrom. We have not seen anything confirmed in this game yet, but we've got the Flames as big favorites here, minus 235, Blues plus 190. A total at 6 in this one here. And I guess, guys, first and foremost, if you're looking at this price, you might think to yourself, how the hell are the Calgary Flames this big of favorites? What's going on here? And you got to wonder, I mean, this price is simply just based on what this team is supposed to be playing, like what we are expecting of them this season. because this price certainly isn't indicative as to what they've looked like so far over the last 10 to 15 games. That is for sure. And I think Carm would agree with me on that. We'll find out in a minute. But you take a look at this Blues team. They did play a game last night. They did win 4-3 against Edmonton. We've talked about how this team could be much of a streaky team. They've now had back-to-back wins over Nashville and Edmonton. But having said all of this about the big price, that number and the situation here and St. Louis finding their rhythm, I actually think that Calgary has been playing decent hockey. They've been just running into some really competitive games where teams are in desperate situations as well. I think Calgary at minus 130 in regulation is a good spot here, Carm. I think they're going to get up for the task. They're going to play well. This team might be frustrated. I don't always like playing on these teams that are really desperate, but I think in this position, they will get the job done. So I'm going to go in regulation for the Flames. What are your thoughts?
Andrew, I gotta talk about the St. Louis game for a second. Yesterday, Andrew, what in one of my numerous chat groups, I got a couple of different ones, but some of my friends, we have one guy in one of our hockey chat groups who he's like the Mush from Bronx Tale, and so I always joke around that I'll never post a ticket in there. I'll send it to my friends separately if I really like a game, because this guy will mush it if he says. If he calls the ticket a winner. So one of the guys posted a ticket last night, and with about a minute left in the, it's a parlay ticket returning about $1,500, and he's got the Edmonton Oilers, and the guy says, he goes, "Oh, great ticket. You should have shared it earlier." This is Mush saying this. Well, doesn't Darnell Nurse give the puck away in the Edmonton zone with about 20 seconds left? St. Louis scores and then goes on to win in a shootout, and the guy's ticket gets completely mushed. I'm not saying that that wouldn't have happened if he had not posted the ticket, but it's the mush theory that we just love piling on this guy. Now, as far as this game goes, Andrew, I look at this and you look at I thought Calgary had turned the corner, and I think they still have. They've lost like 3 straight games in OT, but if you look at their last 7 games, they're 3 wins, a regulation loss, 3 OT losses. They're still picking up points. And that loss to Vancouver was the first off, I think, a 3-game East Coast trip. So if you were looking to fade Calgary in that game with Vancouver, you got there. Now they're playing the Blues, who played last night, were fortunate winners against the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers gave that one away, as I mentioned. But you want me laying toward 235 with Calgary? I wouldn't lay 235 with Calgary against the St. Louis Blues if Calgary was on a 5 or 6 game winning streak. The only way I would take Calgary if I wanted to take them tonight, and I haven't released a single client play today, and I'm not sure I will with these 3 games, but I would take Calgary in regulation time, if anything, or I might very well look at the total in this game and maybe take the over with this game. The Blues showed some life scoring goals yesterday, something they haven't shown in their last few games. So maybe they replicate that tonight. This isn't a game that's going to make my card. This isn't a game that I would even put pizza money on. But again, if you held a gun to my head, it'd be Calgary in regulation time, because I would not want to lose 235 on this game. And I would probably look at lean to the over.
I think I'm on the same page with you in this one. It's one of those ones, Carm, where I don't love the price, but ultimately I am leaning towards the Calgary side in regulation. You did talk about St. Louis finding the back of the net a bit more. Also, just find them shooting the puck a lot more. We have seen Jordan Kyrou. He's kind of back on his the train of shots on goal. He's gone over his number in 5 of the last 6 games. He's someone that's finding the net. He's looking confident out there. And some players, as you can see sometimes, are just shoot first. It's not that they're puck hogs. It's not that they don't pass the puck. They're a shoot first play style type of guy. You look last night for the Montreal Canadiens, Cole Caulfield, his number was 3.5. I think he finished with 5 or 6 shots on goal. Some guys are just shoot first players, and that's what we're seeing there with Jordan Kyrou. So he's somebody that's worth looking at. And Carmine, I know we both talk about juice tolerance, and on our prop show, we always talk about how it's different for everybody, and I respect that. But for me, I like to look at strong trends, and if it's really strong, I don't mind getting upwards of 140, 145, and that's what we're seeing right now with Jordan Kyrou. So, you know, you talked about it with Brian Rust, and the funny thing is with Rust, he actually when they adjusted his number as far as the price is concerned, and it started to go up, he started to lose. It actually wasn't hitting.
Yeah.
But of course, a lot of the times, you know, when you look at these guys, there's a reason why it's 140, right? He is on the hottest streak out of all three of the games that are going on tonight. He's on the best shots on goal run. So let's get your thoughts, Carm, here on the you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and I'm just going to say, and I like that. And you're speaking about Jordan, and speaking of Jordan Kyrou, his goal that he scored, he was the first shooter in that shootout last night, and it's such a beautiful goal that the guy scored. I feel bad for Skinner. He deserved to win that game. The Oilers just can't close it out. But like I said, I don't think I'm going to have an NHL play. If I have plays tonight, they might be some player props. And I mentioned the Boldy one. I might put that one out. It's just tonight's one of those nights. It very well could be every single favorite wins and they win easy. But tonight seems like one of those nights. And if any of you guys out there that are parlay players, where you're like, well, let me just throw the Calgary Flames minus 235 into a parlay just to boost it up a little bit, and then they're the one team that loses for you. Like, I wouldn't blame you if you took the St. Louis Blues tonight to beat Calgary, because at the end of the day, the Calgary's lost 4 games in a row. 3 of them, the last 3 were in regulation time, but in overtime. Those are still losses. And if you're on the other side, you're cashing tickets. So there's teams have gone in and done the Alberta double where they've beaten both teams, Calgary and Edmonton. So you can't say it won't happen tonight. This is, I just feel these are like 3 games that are landmines. Like even the Minnesota-Chicago game, Andrew, it's one that, these teams were rivals at one time, and they probably still are in a way, but they're 2 teams at opposite ends of the standings, and you just never know. On any given Sunday, but any given Friday here. The Chicago Blackhawks, I said, they only won 1 of 14 games. They went into New York having lost 5 or 6 games in a row and beat the Rangers 5-2. So can they go into Minnesota and beat them? Why not?
Hey, I always love Mikey that he's tuned into our show before. He's on Twitter. You can find him I think it's Mikey Betts. He always calls it in the NHL Freaky Friday. I always bring it up because I'm telling you, there's something about Fridays in the NHL. Call me superstitious, but Fridays seem to be a really weird day always in the NHL. So be careful, guys. Carm, I'm going to keep it short and sweet for what I think about this last game. Then I'll throw it to you, and then we can get going with the 6 and 60 and then our best bet segment. I like the under as far as the New York Islanders and Arizona Coyotes are concerned here in this game. Let's take a look here at the New York Islanders, what we've seen from them recently. This is an Islanders team that I think has struggled a little bit, but they've also played 2 elite teams recently with the Boston Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. 2 strong teams in their conference. They're 185 tonight. Arizona plus 155. I want to stay far away from the side in this game. I probably would lean towards the Islanders side, but I wouldn't pay that price in the Islanders against, 5 of us here at Wager Talk. I don't really like the Islanders enough to really be paying that much juice. And Arizona, well, if there's a spot for them to play upset, it's definitely at home. They seem to actually, despite there only being 1,000 people in the arena, it seems like they play a lot better at home than on the road, Carm. But I like the under. I think we're going to see a good defensive performance from the Islanders. And I think Arizona will lock things down as well. I could see a boring Islanders victory here tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't blame you. Listen, there's not a lot of fans in Arizona, but somehow I'm not sure if you saw that video that was on Twitter. But when the Bruins were in town, they had enough fans at the game that one of their fans clocked a girl in the stands, and then all hell broke loose, and the players just continued to play.
They clocked a girl?
And then the cops jumped in there, and one cop goes flying over the seats as well, too. I'm not sure if you guys saw that video. If you haven't, just go on to Twitter and Google Bruins, Coyotes scrap, and you'll see it. There's some great videos on there. But with that said, listen, Arizona came home from like a 14-game road trip that was over 30 days or so, and then they somehow beat the Bruins and they beat the Flyers. They win 2 games at home and then hit the road and they lose to the San Jose Sharks, and now they're back home again. I think they settle into the team that we think they are, which is not a very good team, a team that competes on every given night, but they're not going to beat some of the better teams in the league. And I think the Islanders, I'm not going to call them the upper echelon of the East, but they are a team that's playing extremely well right now. They almost got the win against the Boston Bruins the other night. They're playing well, and I don't want to lay this juice, but I think the Islanders get it done in regulation time. I'm going to lay the regulation time here at -105 and take the Isles. I think the Isles get this one done.
Well, they certainly are coming in motivated, and I think that's a really important factor to me when I look at teams that are playing the Coyotes. Are they entering this game motivated? If it's a team that's off, 5 straight wins, I don't really want to bet on them against the Coyotes, but they're motivated here off a 2 losses here in this one. So it's a shorter slate tonight. You can find both Carmine and I at wagertalk.com, guys, for all of our plays. It's going to be a huge weekend for everybody at the company, but between college football, NFL, huge NHL slates, World Cup final is on Sunday. We've got a good UFC card Saturday night. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for this weekend, but of course we have to get through today first with all kinds of action across the board as well. And Carm's going to give us a little look ahead to some Saturday games with his 6 and 60 segment. Carm, let's try and find some winners a day early here with the NHL action for Saturday.
All right, let's do this. The overnights haven't come out yet. Some of them have. So, and some of them that you see the team names, and if it says regulation, the regulation lines are always the last ones to come out. But some of the numbers are out. But regardless, these are 6 plays that I've looked at that I have, and some of these might make my card. So, with that said, Mr. Philadelphia Eagles producer, hit the clock. All right, you're 6 and 60. Washington and Toronto. I faded the Caps yesterday against an improving team on Thursday, and I'm going to fade them here against a better team in the Leafs. Let's take the Leafs money line here. Boston and Columbus. Bruins off a rare loss at home to the LA Kings. Let's take them in regulation time here. Let's pay the vig against Columbus. Philly and the Rangers. Philly's off an upset win as well, too, but they haven't won 2 straight in over 20 games. Let's take the Rangers, who won 5 straight, to make it 6 straight. Devils and Florida. Devils are showing some regression right now, but these teams are probably going to have to score their way out of their slumps. Let's take the over 6.5 here. Colorado and Nashville. The Preds almost won yesterday. I almost won the lottery yesterday as well, too. Let's take the Preds. Let's take Nashville. Let's take Colorado in regulation time. And then finally, Kings and Sharks. Kings first back off a 6-game East Coast trip on 1 day's rest. We're going to take the big plus money on the Sharks here. That's your 6 and 60.
Boom. At the buzzer. The shot is good. And you find the back of the net. And nice way to end
I kept saying Preds, man. I kept saying Preds. It's Avalanche. It's Avalanche in regulation time. Geez, those Preds are stuck in my head because I was thinking about winning the lottery.
I think you were just trying to show how Canadian you are. That's why I think you in a matter of 60 seconds, you might have said the word sorry about 5 times. So that you were just trying to get enough sorries in to prove how Canadian you are. We're so apologetic, but great stuff there, Carm. And love that plus 200 price tag as well. I'll start things off with the show with best bets before I jump into it. Like I mentioned, guys, it is a big weekend across the board for all kinds of different sports. I'm a huge advocate of longer term packages, whether it's even 3 or 7 days. I have a promo code right now, AM39. You can get 3 days for the price of 1. You'll get all the plays that I release across the board, NFL, NCAA basketball. Like I said, UFC, NHL, you name it. Use that promo code AM39, giving away 3 days for the price of 1 day. Grab that at wagertalk.com. My best bet, we are going with the first game we talked about. We are going with the over in the Blackhawks and Wild matchup. Look, this is one of those ones where I don't have a lot of data to back this up. I mean, this is a Blackhawks team that has not played very well recently, but I do think they get up for this. They're on a back-to-back. They will not be happy. They will not be satisfied. A Minnesota team that has been playing very well recently could potentially take the Blackhawks lightly, but Minnesota, they're looking strong offensively right now. The total is just at 6. Let's get up and over 6 here with the Blackhawks and Wild to try and close out this Puck Time week with a winner for you guys. Over to you, Carm, for what you have going on this weekend. I hope you have a great time watching the World Cup. I appreciate the winners you've given us throughout the tournament. Let's close it out with a bang. But what do you have going tonight and this weekend?
Yeah, after the show, I've got to wash my Toronto Maple Leaf pajamas, so I've got them nice and fresh for tomorrow's Washington game. But up today, there's nothing yet. I'm going to have some player props, I think, in NHL. I think that's the way I'm going to go in with this, as you said, this Freaky Friday on the NHL card. But World Cup obviously is up, a World Cup package with some prop bets as well. To have a 5% NFL play up at Wager Talk, which you can get as well too. 3-0 thus far in December with 5% plays. So we'll see if we can make it 4-0 this weekend. So that 3-day all access wouldn't be a bad deal because you're going to get a bunch of NHL for tomorrow, a bunch of NHL for Sunday, and NHL and NFL. I'm saying. As far as the free pick, guys, I'm going to go right back to the Minnesota and Chicago game that we talked about. I'm going to go to that first period line. You got a minus 425 team. You can't take that. You got to find other ways if you're going to take it, which can be player props or the first period prop. And I like the first period taking Minnesota minus a half a goal and getting that at minus 105. And we'll see if Chicago shows up in that first period. Minnesota's playing so well defensively right now. Let's look at Minnesota to win the first period and then eventually win the game. And we're laying minimal juice.
It's definitely nice to be able to get those huge favorites down to a really nice price just to win that first period. So great stuff there with Minnesota in the first period. That's minus a half goal. I just want to say again, reiterate, I talked about it at the start of the show, but, I really do appreciate all of the comments you guys leave on our YouTube channel. I hope you guys have downloaded the Wager Talk TV app. You can get it on Android, iOS, Roku, all kinds of devices. We appreciate it, guys. I don't ask very often, but if you are watching the show, please do hit the like button. We get a decent amount of viewers every single day, and yet our show probably gets the least amount of likes on the channel. And I don't like to be someone that asks, but please leave a like. Really means a lot, and it helps Carmine and I out as the hosts of this show. But guys, on behalf of Carmine, our producer, Dan, and every single person that joins us every day on this show and watching, thanks so much, guys. Good luck tonight. Good luck this weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at Wager Talk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at Wager Talk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to wagertalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.